We had a huge industrial expansion across Britain as well as here in Middlesbrough, and Prime Minister Gladstone referred to Middlesbrough as an infant Hercules, and we became known as this ironopolis, having transformed from a tiny hamlet to one of the world's most important steel and iron exporters. And the town's growth and its ability to succeed was supported by the River Tees, the introduction of the Darlington and Stockton Railway, which came in 1825, and obviously the discovery of iron ore in the Cleveland Hills. And obviously with the growth of that industry, we had a huge demand for labour, which saw a lot of migration into Middlesbrough, and obviously the population grew rapidly from there as the town was successful economically. Obviously we had a big urban and social expansion at that point in time as well. So the old town hall obviously did have a political and civic function. It was also there as a symbol of Middlesbrough's growth and success at that point in time. And when it was built in 1846, it really was a symbol of pride for the town and a reflection of the growth that we'd gone through in such a small period of time. The old town hall actually sits on a high point in the middle of Haven, St Hilda's area, so it would have been a focal point for that tight-knit community, sort of visually and within that community base as well. And in its time, it's housed a court, prison cells, a library, a community centre, and back in the day as well, it had a huge market, which also had a fish market as well. So within that sense, it's always been a building that's had a lot of public access to it. So people were invited into the building, whether that was for administrative purposes, legal purposes, or just to kind of go around their day-to-day life. It was a communal space, and it certainly was the heart of the civic centre of the town at that point in time. And it was a building of such importance that in 1998 it became listed. So the Old Town Hall certainly represents the birthplace of Middlesbrough. That's where the first house was and where the hamlet that was Middlesbrough grew into a town the size it is today. So we've gone from an ironopolis to now growing to be listed as a potential contender for City of Culture in 2029. And I think the Old Town Hall not only represents where we started, but it also represents that period of growth, that rapid growth that we had, and how the town became such an economic powerhouse. And also from this point forward, it represents a new direction of travel for us in terms of growth economically and being able to support new industries that are coming through, because once the town hall is renovated, it will be open for businesses in the digital and creative sectors to work from. Whilst the Old Town Hall has no current civic function, it will always have historical importance within Middlesbrough's political landscape and within the visual landscape as well, because it will always be a symbol of our start and our economic growth. I think it's a symbol not only of how we started, but of what we achieved and how we can drive forward as well.
I was involved with the time capsule from the few hours after they found the documents. The contractors were digging a trench as part of the process of stabilising the clock tower. And it was at that point when they were starting to dig down, they came across a foundation stone, and in the foundation stone, suddenly these documents turned up. They were quite small and rolled up. Unfortunately, we think they were in a glass bottle, and that got smashed in the process of digging down. But as soon as the contractors found these rolled documents, they took them out, unrolled them a little bit. They were a bit damp, and kept them safe and called me, and I was there within a few hours of them finding it. They found 3 different newspapers, Middlesbrough and Weekly News. We have the Stockton and Hartlepool Mercury and Middlesbrough News. And we also have the Darlington Stockton Times. So 3 newspapers, all dated the same date, at the date that they buried the time capsule. So they all have Saturday, the 25th of September, 1858. So along with the newspapers, they also wrote a parchment document. This is handwritten on parchment, and it describes the day, it describes what they were going to bury, and also it has all the names of the people who were there for the laying of the foundation stone. And then along with that, we found some coins. We're not absolutely convinced they all came out of the time capsule, but we think most of them did. They're all dated the right dates. So that was really exciting when they started finding coins. And they also found maybe the stopper of the glass bottle that everything was put inside. It was difficult to know. None of that area was disturbed through the years, so no water got in close to it. And so, yes, it is amazing that all of these the newspapers and the document are in very good condition. They need flattening a little bit. This has got a little bit of dirt on it, but not much compared with some time capsules I've been involved with. It's very rare. Usually, if buildings aren't restored, if they keep the foundations and they're only restoring the walls and the roofs, they don't get to disturb anything underground. This project is doing that, and that's why I think they found the time capsule. But it's very important for the history of Middlesbrough, finding out a bit more about the people who were there at that time in 1858 and what they believed was important at that time.
As a kind of historical source, it will have its limitations, and there's only so much it can tell us. It's not necessarily the best source for maybe giving us a kind of a sense of the honest intention of some of the people who were kind of involved in the early stages of the development of the town, people like Henry Bolcow, John Vaughan, etc. But what it does do is it gives us a really good idea of what these people kind of wanted to the image of Middlesbrough to be, and what they kind of how they wanted to be seen of the North East. So it's a kind of a sense that, you know, this is a place of ambition. The Victorians were really kind of strong believers in progress. There was a sense that Middlesbrough was really a city on the grow, and that with a town hall, Middlesbrough had sort of arrived on the scene. And this is a community, this is an area that has civilization, this is an area that we work together, this is an area that has a sort of shared culture. But it's really people like John Vaughan and Henry Bolcow that kind of developed Middlesbrough from a small settlement into something bigger, and that's through the iron trade. Bolcow and Vaughan are what we refer to as the iron masters. They set up ironworks and steelworks, and that's really where Middlesbrough as a place of industry kind of comes to thrive, and they play a really significant role. One of the things we often forget about Middlesbrough is that as a town, it's built by immigrants. Some of those immigrants are people who are coming from other areas of England, so not that far away, but there's also quite a large number of Scottish, Welsh and particularly Irish immigrants from the middle of the 19th century onwards.
Well, I think it's hugely significant. There's names on there that we are more akin to seeing on pubs and statues now, who are hugely important figures in our history. But it's also really important about how, even at the time, the way that they wrote the documents, they were recognising that Middlesbrough was growing fast, and that probably wouldn't be the town hall forever because of how quickly the place was expanding. So it was a real moment in time of the explosion of Middlesbrough into the sort of the place it is now. This is quite a moment in time. As a town, we're reaching quite significant anniversaries, so it feels like a really exciting time period over the next sort of 5 years when we see all those things come and go. And it's really appropriate that we found a piece of history now, given that we are now celebrating some of the major life events of the town. When it was the steel industry, because so many people were employed, so many people were part of it, it was hard to not know about it and be involved. And I think we need to get to that same level with the digital sector. With a refurbished town hall, when it's finished, will be a bit of a hub for art and tech. So actually that'd be really important that we then replace the time capsule with something of significance to that sector. So I'm really hopeful. I think we've been a place that for a long time has felt forgotten. Huge challenges for a place of our size. We face city-size problems with a town-side ethos, but we need to make sure that we get ourselves out of that, because it's an incredibly amazing place full of amazing, ambitious people. But we're also the most self-deprecating people that you will ever meet, and we'd love to put ourselves down on each other in the town. But we're also fiercely proud of it because we're allowed to do that, no one else is. And it's that balance. What we need to get people into that mindset is that fierce proudness that they face when other people talk us down. They need to be using that same thing to big up the town at the same time.